you, everyone. So, without further ado, let's actually start working. So, the ability of living organisms to detect and respond to changes environment that is referred to as irritability. Um, Changes in the environment, irritability meaning that you react to it and you basically adapt to it. Which of the following organelles in the cell allow substance to pass in and out of the cell? That would be considered the cell membranes. That's it for that. Which of following factors is not necessary for photosynthesis to take place? That would be oxygen that is not necessary. An example of diffusion is a movement of oxygen from the alveoli to the capillaries. We do know that diffusion does occur in the capillaries. So with the inclusion of alveoles, we could not think of that immediately. So here we know. Which of the following foods is a good source of vitamin A? That would be fish liver oil. That's a good source of vitamin A. Which of the following cell structures traps energy from sunlight to help in the production of simple sugars? That would be the chloroplast. Which of the following region gives a positive test for the main food present in a slice of baked potato? We do know that that is the iodine solution. This is a very famous solution. This is a repeat question. It did repeat in 2005, so that's something important to note. So the iodine solution is usually test for food present in a slice of. Usually, it's a way of testing food in general. That is the iodine solution. The Bendix solution, that is a whole other ball game on its own. So eight, which of the following are properties of enzymes? They mostly work on only one substrate. Yes, they work best at a particular pH. Yes, they are not affected by temperature. No. So the answer for this is I and I. That would be it. A. Sorry for that. Item 9 refers following diagram of part of the human digestive system, which sequence correctly matches each number structure its function. You see, that would be I here and then here, which is the at the end right here. So here first, which is the I, then I, or the toward. So that would be right there at B. No, wait, I got wait, just give me a second. It would be right here at C. Which of following types of teeth is best adapted for tearing tough pieces of food? That would be the canine. The canine is the sharpest part of the teeth. It's actually used to tear meat. It's used to tear very difficult things to tear, like meat, like basically those things that we consider to be hard to tear. During the process of digestion, bile salts aid in emulsification. See for that. Here we know, question 12. Which of the labeled parts contains blood vessels and nerves? That would be I. That would be right here. That's where the nerve and stuff like that is located. That would be C. Kwashiorkor is a deficiency disease caused by a lack of, we don't know this is what proteins. It causes a lot of deficiencies in terms in relation to the body structure. Malnutrition could be a result of the kwashiorkor because of your lack of digestion of protein, because protein is a vital nutrient in order for the body to function. So the process by which undigested food is eliminated from the body is egestion, which is the excretion of foods. So where are we now? 15. The following parts represent diaph- the diaphragm. That would be right here at IV, which is the bottom part right here. So that's IV. During a sprint, muscles in the human body produce lactic acid by the process of anaerobic respiration, which is not the unutilization of oxygen, whereby you're not using oxygen to actually perform, and that buildup creates something called lactic acid because of anaerobic respiration. Since you're not having the amount of sufficient respiration, acid or lactic acid is developed as a preemptive way of actually protecting yourself, which is a bodily reaction. So 17, which of the following is the correct sequence of events in mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, resuscitation? So tilt the head backward, that is IV. And we have I pinch the nostrils, so that's second. And then we have I place your mouth over the other persons and blow gently. And then finally remove your mouth. So that is IV, I, and I. So which of the following are true about phagocytes? So have a no, have around the nucleus, no, engulf and ingest bacteria, yes, are the type of white blood cells. So I and I, those two are included. During respiration, release of energy, a cell occurs from ATP is converted to ADP. This is a very easy one. Which of the following substances found in cigarette smoke is addictive? That would be nicotine. The double pumping of heart allows blood rich in oxygen to be taken to the body during the second pump. That would be A. Which of the following vitamins assist in the process of blood clotting? That would be vitamin K. The left side of the heart has a thicker muscular wall in order to, that would be pump blood to the rest of the body. Bones act as levers while cartilage assists with reducing friction at the joints. The diagram most likely represents a, that would be a phagocyte. So that would be B for that. When the arm is bent or flexed, that would be the biceps pulls on the radius. That would be that for it. Which label part represents the sweat pore? This would be right here at I. So the answer for this would be B. Which of the following is the most severe damage caused by the prolonged wearing of high-heeled shoes? The bones in the feet become mislingual because you're over wearing it longevity, and it creates basically over time your foot becomes more mislingual and more it becomes basically twisted in a sense because of prolonged wearing, and the arrangement of the heels configure your feet because of its arrangement and because of its structural dynamics. So that's it. 29. Which of the following responses occurs in the body when a marathon runner consumes too little water? More ADH is secreted, increases reabsorption of water that usually occurs. The longest continuous bone in the human skeleton is the femur. Second to that is the humerus. The much little part is the axon. The axon is right here at I. So that would be C. Liam noticed that his face is blush red after playing football, which a following process causes blood to be flushed. That is with vasodilation. So don't get mixed up with vasodilation and vasoconstriction. Don't get mixed up with these two terms. Very now. Which of the following structure contains a loop of Henle? That would be the medulla. An example of a cranial reflex involuntary is basically if food and hungry, dropping a hot object. That would be the pupil reflex, which is basically the blinking of the eye as we know it. The blinking of the eye is something involuntary. We don't need to actually do it. It just occurs. It's an involuntary action. Part label X, that is very easy. We do know that this is the iris. The central nervous system is made up of we do know that is the brain and spinal cord. Which of the following board control method is considered the least reliable? That would be rhythm method, meaning that you go according to the menstrual cycle, meaning that between the days of 14, usually go for the 28th day. So the 14-day period, we do know that that is the time of where you can get most pregnant. So usually the best time to go according to the rhythm is around day 28, which is usually the most considerate day. So that is something you could take into account, but it's not reliable because regardless of the day when the ovary is actually constipated, that will still lead to the birth of a child regardless. Which of following comparison is not true for the nervous and hormonal system? That would be A. Yes. Fertilization occurs in the oviduct when sperms are released. The ovum is released. No. Sexual intercourse takes place. The sperm fuses with the ovum. Yes. The main reason for practicing family planning is to ensure sufficient resources for each family member. Chromosomes are made of protein, and DNA can be RNA, starch, and it can be fat. Which of following are true about the fallopian tube? Facility yes, yes, no. Does not produce the ovum. That's for the oviduct. So yes. I and I, that would be the answer. Which of the following rows shows correct examples of genetic and environmental variation? That would be tongue rolling and height. Good health may be best defined as a state of complete physical, social, and mental well-being, in which the following structure is an alley for eye color located. That would still be the chromosome, because due to genetical adherence, it's which is basically inherent. If your mother like has a blue eye or probably a black eye or a green eye or whatever, you will most likely inherit those similar traits. What kind of immunity is illustrated by the activity above? That would be naturally acquired positive, not positive, positive. So that would be B. Antibiotics are chemicals which can safely be taken into the body. They do not harm human cells, but they destroy bacteria. During asexual reproduction, an organism produces new organisms that are identical to the parent by the process of mitosis. Meiosis, in the case of meiosis, the cells do show variation. They show variation from the parent cells. This is in the case of, like, for example, human beings, where we are not exactly similar to our parents or our parent cells. We're not exactly similar. We show variation. Mitosis, however, there is no variation in that field. So, which of the following disease is caused by fungus? That would be the ringworm. Siam has the following signs symptoms: constriction of bronchial tubes, coughing, and wheezing. She is most likely suffering from that would be asthma. Which of the following cells does the AIDS virus attack? This would be the lymphocytes. Infected person displays signs and symptoms of disease. Which of the following signs and symptoms are correctly classified? So we have shivering, and that would be sore throat. That would be right here. Which of the following gases contribute most to the greenhouse effect? That would be carbon dioxide. That is the most emitted. Second to that would be carbon monoxide, which is emitted from gases. Since there is over approximately 9 billion human beings in the world that emit carbon dioxide through the process of respiration or breathing in general, we could say that that contributes to the greenhouse effect. And also industrialization factories emit carbon dioxide also. The Anopheles mosquito is known for the spread of malaria. That is very known in the Caribbean. Which of the following is the correct sequence when testing water for bacteria? That would be I place collected water in a sterile bottle. IV, pour the water onto sterile agar in a sterile pottery dish. II, incubate the Petrus dish at 35 degrees for 24 hours and then lastly do that. So the sequence for that is IV, and I. If you guys could have any answers different, just tell me in the comment below. The process of adding a calculated amount of chemical that is expected for killing bacteria in water treatment plant before water is distributed to customers. That's called chlorination. Process by which water vapors changes. We know this through the water cycle. That would be condensation. Compaction is done at landfills in order to get rid of spaces that may harbor pests, which are foreign gas produced in a landfill site. That is methane. Which are following substances is biodegradable. That would be wood. Yes, people landed. This is everything for the 2020 May June HSB. Tell me, guys, if you have anything else different. It was not hard. And generally, HSB is not really a difficult subject.